So we've had so much that we've lived through as a nation, and we're just going to skip over that. We've learned a lot about Corona, and we learned a lot about people in the middle of the Corona epidemic, right? We learned there are two types of people, right? There's that guy with his cart full of toilet paper, water, stacked, 12 feet high, and then the guy behind him is a cart that has beer. So, right? Two types of people. So, two types of people. We also know people are confused. Your COVID test came back positive. Well, that can't be correct. I have more than 300 rolls of toilet paper. Yeah, that's not how it works. Tied to that one, I loved this one. Holy coronavirus, we need toilet paper. It's a respiratory virus, not Chipotle. So, you don't need that much. But that's... people went crazy. We all saw it. Every one of you was in a store and saw no toilet paper left. People went nuts. And then this one I loved. I already ate all my quarantine snacks. So I saw that the first week of quarantine. Somebody posted, I ate all my snacks. And they meant it. It's we are really being challenged by this whole Corona epidemic. And then we've got new words in our vocabulary too, which I find so interesting. We've got social distancing. 3 months ago, nobody knew what that meant. I thought it meant what girls did to me in high school. Social distancing. I thought that's what that meant. And I didn't know it meant something else. We have flattening the curve. And we all know flattening the curve. My favorite new word, I absolutely love this word, Blur's Day. Every day is Blur's Day to me. So I was not one of the ones who got furloughed. I had to work, and in my office there were very few of us left. We're all working remote. And I'm an extrovert, so I really need people. Couldn't wait to be around people, and I'm alone all the time. So the result was every day felt the same, and it was never the right way. It never was oh my goodness, it's Friday today. I thought it was Wednesday. That never happened. It was always, all right, it's Wednesday. Oh, it's Tuesday. Dang, I was always on the wrong side of it. And it was Blur's Day every day. So we've got all these new words and new terms. And I heard somebody say, and somebody young said this, they said, well, we've gone through this experience and we've come through it, and so now, I've gained so much more maturity because I've experienced this in life. And I thought, well, that's not true, right? Experience doesn't bring maturity. Experience doesn't bring maturity. Because how many people do you have in your life right now who go from one unhealthy relationship to another unhealthy relationship to another? It's like they just go from one train wreck to the next train wreck in dating relationships. Well, they have a lot of experience, but they're not learning anything from it. So this is really important. Just going through something challenging like we're going through and like we're starting to come out of right now with Corona doesn't mean that you've gained maturity at all. It's not experience, it's evaluated experience that makes you mature and allows you to grow and be the person that God created you to be. In other words, you have to actually stop and sit back and go, okay, let's take a look at the last few months. What do I learn from this? What did I go through there? I'm like, okay, I really like this part of how I handled it. This part, I don't want to do this again. Or, I was unprepared for it. And here's what I'm going to change for if something like this happens again in our future. It's evaluated experience that allows you to grow and become mature, not just experience. And this is, by the way, what I believe is the essence of Hebrews chapter 12. I talk about these verses all the time. Such important verses in the Bible. God says in the book of Hebrews, I want you to learn how to go through painful things as if it was discipline from God. Not that it is, as if it was. And when you're being disciplined, the only question that matters, the question that has to be asked is, God, what do you want me to learn in the middle of this? Something painful happens, it's evaluate that. God, what do you want me to learn in the middle of this? I think in the middle of what we've been going through and are still going through, I think there are some key lessons to learn. And so I've been planning what I would say the day that we're able to actually get back together again for a long time. I've been thinking through, what do I want to say? What do I want to do? And so I originally was just going to do one message. Now, obviously, I'm going to do two, and it may be three. I actually have multiple things that I think I might put in this, but we're just starting with one today, and it will be only one thing. So again, it's probably going to turn into a series on what we can learn from our Corona experience, but I want to ask you to grab your notes. Inside, well, you don't have a program, but you have your notes today and a pen, and I didn't fill it in for you, and it's so much nicer for you to have to fill it in. So, and welcome to those of you who are still watching on YouTube, and to those of you who are watching on our website at pendulechurch.life. Glad you're there. You have the notes too. You can pop those open and follow along. Let's talk about just one thing. We're only going to talk about point number 2 today. Here's what I want you to remember, and I really want you to internalize going forward. We always have a reason for hope. We always have a reason for hope. Now, this is tough because there are a lot of, matter of fact, before Corona hit, here, let me ask you this. No, let me not ask you that. Let me show you something. The CDC reported before Corona that we have had 3 years where the average life expectancy has declined in America. Did you know that? 3 years in a row, life expectancies in America have gone down. Now, why do you think that is? Most people think cancer, heart disease, these are the leading killers, right? Would it surprise you to know that those 2 killers have been going down? So why is our life expectancy going down? Do you know what's the cause behind this? They're called diseases of despair. Drug abuse, opioid crisis, which is prescription drug abuse, things, and then also things like heroin, alcohol-related deaths, and suicide. These things are spiraling. Now let me ask you, did Corona make this list better or worse? Way worse, right? We all know that. Corona made this way worse. It brought an attention to something that already existed in our nation. We are a nation full of despairing people. The youngest generation is drugging and drinking and ending their own life at staggering rates. And it's only going the wrong way. They're losing hope. That's why that one author called them diseases of despair. It's going the wrong way, and people are losing hope in our country. So the question is, why is this happening? Why is it in a nation like ours where we have access to so much, why is it that we are living shorter lives and we're actually taking our own lives? All of those ultimately are taking your own life. It's not just suicide. You drink yourself to death, you use drugs, and your life ends early. You get hooked on Percocet or Hydrocort. I read this morning, almost 4,000 people a day start using prescription drugs illegally. Almost 4,000 a day. That's like Dodgeville every day in America. That's how little hope we have. It's like I've got to have something that makes me feel better temporarily. Why? Why? Well, there are a lot of, you ask 1,000 people, you get 1,000 answers, right? But since I'm talking, I get to give you my reason. What I believe is, of course, rooted in my faith. You and I were created by God for a special purpose. We don't get to make up our own purpose. And if you say, forget you, God, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. This is my life, I'm going to choose what I want, what I think is most valuable. Then we cut ourselves off from the being who is the source of life. We cut ourselves off from him. So the natural thing is, then you're going to have something will always be in the top spot in your life, always. Every human, that's why we say every human being worships something. Worship is just placing something in highest value. So what do we choose instead? Well, we choose money, right? That's the highest value, or pleasure, or entertainment, or sex, or relationships, or happiness, and we pursue these as the most important thing, right? Does that sound like our nation right now? We are pursuing one or more or multiples of these. This is what's going to make me happy. When I get married, I'll be happy. When I find the right person, I'll be happy. When I achieve that level of success in my career. And yet the reality is none of these things make us content. I mean, you don't see the wealthiest Americans suddenly filled with contentment and peace. It doesn't happen. We actually know it goes the opposite way. You don't see people who have lots and lots of sex or lots of pleasurable experiences getting to the point where they're just content. Nobody who does retail therapy for a regular part of their life is content when they're done. They need the next retail therapy and the next retail therapy and the next retail therapy. It never, ever satisfies. You know why? Because they're not gods. You weren't made for them. They're all temporary. And all you have to do is go and withdraw a stack of $100 bills from your bank account and put it in your living room on the floor and bow down every day and pray to it. And ask it to do amazing things in your life. And nothing will happen. Because it's not a God. It's not real. It's not even lasting. It's temporary. We need something more than all of these artificial gods. We need a real God who is capable of calming storms, who can bring peace into our lives. So I find it, I see patterns of God's work in my life all the time. If you start to learn how to spot God in your life, you'll see it too. So back in January or February, before all of this really got started, I picked up my Bible one day and just started reading, and I was reading a story that I told the very first message I did after we were all quarantined and everything was shut down. I told a story that I had just read. Jesus one day was tired from a whole day of teaching, so his disciples put him in a boat and they were going to cross the Sea of Galilee, this enormous body of water, 7 miles across at its widest part. We know that because of the way that the landscape, the geography of the Sea of Galilee sits, storms just roll in fast on this thing. There's records in modern times of 9-foot high waves on the Sea of Galilee. So we know it can at least go that high. So I'm 6, so add 3 feet to me, and that's how high the waves could be. And Jesus and his disciples are sailing across. Jesus is exhausted from a whole day of teaching. He falls asleep in the back of the boat. The disciples, no big deal. Most of them are fishermen. They've spent their life on the water. They know exactly how to navigate across the Sea of Galilee. It's no big deal. And yet all of a sudden one of these massive storms rolls in. The waves are coming over the side. The wind is pushing them. And they try everything they know how to do as seasoned sailors to get across, and it's not working. They can't bail water fast enough. It's going to drown them. Their boat's going to go under, and Jesus is just sleeping. And so finally, the story, as I was reading that day, they go back and they wake him up, and they say, "Don't you care if we drown?" And of course he does care, and he stands up and he calms the storm. And then he turns to them and says, "Where's your faith? Did you actually think I was going to let you drown?" And I was so struck by that sentence when I read it months ago. It's like Jesus was saying, I expect you, no matter what crisis you go through, no matter what storm in your life, I expect you to kind of really turn to me and believe that I'm going to be there for you. I expect that from you. And in the story, they have this incredible encounter with God, and I see the pattern for how we should go through storms. And this is the thing I want to lock in your mind going forward. Because here's the thing. You and I all know. We know a couple of things. We know that this storm that we're in may not be ending. We're opening up restaurants, and sports teams are starting again this week. And businesses are reopening, but we don't know if this is the end of the storm or round 2 about to begin. We have no idea, right? We have no idea what the storm will be in the future. But even if not for this storm, we know our future holds storms as a nation, but also for you personally. There are going to be storms that hit your boat in the days ahead. How do you handle them? These 4 things. First, when those storms come up, you remember who God is and what he can do. You remember who he is and what he can do. The next time a storm hits your boat, you remember who God is and what he can do. So I read this verse this last week and I loved it. I immediately knew I was going to throw it in my message today. It says, "Yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty. Everything in the heavens and on earth is yours, O Lord, and this is your kingdom. We adore you as the one who is over all things." I love the passion of it, but I really liked, and 2 words struck me in that opening sentence. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness. He's great. And yours, O Lord, is the power. And he's powerful. And we lose sight of that in the middle of something powerful, like a powerful storm. Do you think the disciples were thinking about how powerful Jesus was in the boat with them? They weren't thinking about his power. They were thinking about the power of the storm. And one of the things to do when you're in the middle of a storm is you need a perspective shift that comes by remembering how powerful he is. So you want to see how powerful our God is? Look at this. Scientists say, if you could take a pin and heat it to the temperature of the sun and drop it in Dodgeville, for instance, it would kill every living thing within 1,000 miles. That's Florida. You just draw a circle on the map from Dodgeville down to Florida, all the way around. Every living thing within 1,000 miles is dead if you could heat a pin to the temperature of the sun. That's how hot and powerful the sun is. Now let me ask you this. Could Jesus pick the pin up? Yeah, it'd be like picking up a stone to him, a pebble. It wouldn't matter at all to him. So can he handle the problems that you have? Is he strong enough? Is he powerful enough? Let me ask you to consider this. Every galaxy has black holes. Did you know that? Every galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, has black holes. Do you know what an event horizon is on a black hole? Black holes suck everything into them, including light. Isn't that amazing? Light, the photons in light can't resist a black hole. So once they get too close, they're sucked in and crushed down to nothingness. So the amazing thing about this is they call that around the outside, like you can still see some things that are outside of that black hole. It's called the event horizon. It's like this line that once you cross that line, you're sucked in. But if you stay on the other side of that line, you're okay. That's the event horizon. Nothing in this universe can resist a black hole's power once it crosses the event horizon. But what happens if God puts his foot over the event horizon line in a black hole? Is he in trouble? Would it just suck him in and crush him down to nothingness? Of course not. He could step over the line, do the hokey pokey, turn himself around. He'd do anything he wants. It is not more powerful than he is. He's beyond that. He created those. He's beyond that. His power cannot be stopped. He bullies black holes. He bullies them. It's a force that literally not even light can resist, God can resist. So, is God powerful enough to help you with the storm that you're in the middle of today? Is he powerful enough? And does he need your help? Does he need your help to fix the problems in your life? Is he powerful enough? I mean, they literally had, if you don't know this, in the book of Colossians it says Jesus Christ is the one who created and sustains the universe. They had the creator of black holes sitting in the boat with them. Was he powerful enough to deal with the storm they were facing? Absolutely, right? So that's the first thing, is when you're in the middle of a storm, you've got to get perspective. You have to remember and remind yourself just who he is and what he can do. He can deal with the storms you're going through. But then the second thing you do is that you got to remember that he's actually with you. And I love the metaphor. It's become part of my vocabulary, especially with some of my kids where I talk about this regularly. It's like, yeah, he's in the boat with you. You are not alone. Jesus is in the boat with you. Now, obviously, we're not in a boat right now, but I love the imagery of it, is that he's with you, and that's the idea of it. Matter of fact, we get it better than the disciples did, because look at what the New Testament says. It says, do you not realize that Christ Jesus is in you? So, it's not that you're in the boat with Jesus. Here's the thing. Christianity is an open invitation from God Almighty for any human being who will receive it, that if you will let him, he will come and live inside you. He won't get in your car with you. He won't get in your home with you. He will get inside you. He'll come and make his home inside of you. So now, the bully of the black holes lives inside of you. The most powerful being ever, who literally can handle the sun, lives inside of you. He's in the boat with you. So what do you have to be worried about? Can he help you with a loss of income? Can he help you with your job might be going away? Does it scare him? Is he afraid? There's no fear. Our God can handle it. Our God is all powerful and he's with us. And so we remember that. You are not alone. He's in the boat with you. All you have to do is turn and look. He's right there. He's right there in the boat with you. It's his promise. He can't lie. So then the third thing you do is now you turn to him. And this is where we totally blow it. This is where we blow it. It's not that he isn't powerful. It's not that he doesn't love us. It's not that he isn't inside of us. It's not none of those things. That's not the issue. The issue is always our response to God in the middle of storms. We do not do this. We do not turn to him. Or usually he's like 50th on the list of everything. We turn to ourselves, our friends, our savings, our effort, our family, our teachers, Facebook, our golfing buddies, our drinking buddies, Kermit the Frog, our drunk neighbor, Britney Spears, Netflix, on and on and on, God. And he's way at the end. I mean, it's like every single thing. We go to the horoscope, we go to the psychic hotline, we go to everything other than God, the one who is the creator of the universe and sustainer of all things. It's like, why do we do that? This is exactly what the disciples did in the story. They're sailors. You think they can't sail in a storm? You think they've not sailed in storms on the Sea of Galilee? These things blow up all the time. They can handle this. Jesus, you just stay in the back of the boat. We got this. And it's like, yeah, turn into the wind. No, that's not working. Turn away from the wind. The wind was blowing our sails over. We can't handle it. Well, grab a bucket and start bailing. You bail too. We need bigger buckets. Everybody help. And they're driving themselves absolutely crazy with the creator of the universe right there in the boat. And they won't turn to him until they reach the event horizon. One more wave comes over and the boat sinks and they all drown. This is us. This is us. Finally, they're at that point. And he's in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" Now we're in a desperate spot. We absolutely have no other option left. Now we turn to him. And that's what we're like. Some of you, this is what you are like today. You are driving yourself crazy trying to figure everything out and trying to solve it all, and it's beyond your ability. You are not in control. You don't have control. You want to know how you can always know when you're trying to control something that God wants to take from your hands? It's simple. It's always the same. You watch for worry, anxiety, and fear in your life. Are you worried about anything today? Are you feeling anxious or scared? It's always the sign that you're bailing water and ramming the sails and you're doing everything you can, running around trying to control something beyond your control. It's always the sign that you're trying to control something you can't control, is when you feel worried and anxious and scared. You've tried to take something back that belongs only in the hands of God. And he's like, turn to me. What does it mean to turn to him? It is a moment-by-moment trusting in God where we say to him, God, this is a storm too big for me, but not too big for you. So thanks for being with me. I'm excited to see what you will do. That's turning to him. And you say that 10 times a day, or 50 times a day, or 100 times a day, as often as you need to, because what happens is, you can pray that one time and problem solved, right? You never feel anxious again. No, you know what's going to happen. Something else is going to pop in your mind. You're going to be, oh! And you're like, grab the bucket. We got to start bailing. It's like, wait, stop. Let's go right back to him again. Thank you, God. Too big for me, not for you. I'm just relying on you. Thanks for being with me. I'm excited to see what you're going to do. And in turning to him and relying on him, which, by the way, I love the part of the story where Jesus' disciples are like, they have no faith when they wake him up. Right? It's like, we're going to drown. They're already declaring what's going to happen with God Almighty in the boat with them. They've already pictured a negative future. They've got it all predicted. God doesn't stop from helping them. Now, he does talk to them about their faith, but he still helps them. He'll help you if you do this. If you've waited to the point of making yourself absolutely crazy, he'll still help you. But why would you do that to yourself? Why would you do that to yourself? Turn. Don't put him at the end of the list. Put him at the top of the list. Because then you get this incredible thing. And there's something new I want to show you today that I just love when I saw it this last week when I was reading my Bible. Now, once you follow these steps, that's when you get to see him at work in your life. Okay, God, I remember who you are. You're the bully of black holes. You are so powerful. You could hold the sun in your hand and not be scorched. And you're with me. You live inside of me now. So I'm turning to you with this problem, and I can't wait to see you work. And I love what he does. It says, then Jesus arose, and he rebuked the wind and said to the sea, peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. Imagine what it would be like to be in the boat that day. And the storm's coming, and you can't do anything, and the water's over the sides of the boat, and it's filling up fast, and all of a sudden, he stands up and goes, peace, be still. And the wind stops, and the waves are calm, and it's completely calm. Completely calm. Sometimes after a storm, the waves keep gently coming in. It's like they go down slowly. That's not what this verse indicates. This verse went from high waves to nothing. What would that have been like? But that's not the part that struck me this week. These words really struck me this week. And this is why I'm doing this message today. You ever been out sailing? You ever been out on the water? Ever been on a lake or on a big body of water? Have you ever seen ears in a wave? If it's windy out after the service, go walk around and look outside and try and find the ears in the wind. Do wind and waves have ears? Of course not. So who is he talking to? Who's he talking to? Because wind and waves can't hear anything. Did he need to say words for this wind and the waves to go away? No, of course not. He could have gone like this. He could have gone like this. He could have done anything he wanted. Anything. He could have simply thought it, right? Couldn't he have just done that? He could have said, he didn't have to, he could have done anything. And yet he says these three words. Why? Who were the words for? The disciples in the boat. The words were for the disciples in the boat to hear, so that they would understand that he is God, but more than that, because those are the words they needed to hear in that moment, didn't they? Didn't they need to hear the words peace? And didn't they need to hear the words be still? Stop all this frantic striving and running around like it's all up to you. Didn't they need to hear that? Some of you really need to hear that right now. Some of you, God brought you here for me to say to you, peace. Be still. It's not up to you. This is a big storm for you, but it is nothing for me. And he may make you go through the storm, but he'll go through it with you. Or he may calm the storm. I don't know what he's going to do for the storms that you're in the middle of or going to be facing, but I do know that's how he wants us to go through it. He wants us to go relying on him so that we have peace, and he wants us to go through it still. Not frantic, not killing ourselves with anxiety, worry, and fear. Peace, be still. A couple of weeks ago, the company where I work sent out an email at 7 in the morning. And the email said, the furloughs have not worked. We're going to need to take more drastic steps. And that means that we're going to be doing layoffs. And a lot of people, we didn't know how many, we knew it was going to be a lot, though, to try and make up for this. And then it basically was like, we heard, or I don't remember if the email said it, but you'll be getting a phone call shortly if you're going to be let go. So, well, that's quite an email. That created a lot of emotion in everybody's hearts when they read that. So I'm sitting there, it comes at 7. I read it at 7. 8:30, I'm working, and all of a sudden I get an instant message from the head of HR saying, can you jump on a call quick with the VP of operations? Before I can even reply to that, I get an instant message from my boss's boss saying, can you jump on a call quick with the VP of operations? Before I can respond to that, one of my other managers writes me and says, can you jump on a call quick with the VP of operations? So guess what was in my mind? The head of HR writes you on the day after that email. Immediate emotion inside of me, right? Storm. Huge waves about to come over the side. Now, again, what I learned in that moment is you have no control over the first thought in your mind. I've said this many times. But you always have control over the second thought. You know what the second thought I put in my mind was? God's in the boat with me. God's in the boat with me. So, it took the anxiety and fear down more than half. And if I would have had more time to practice it, it would have eliminated it. But I didn't have any time. I had to jump on a call quick with the VP of operations. And his first words to me were, "We're not letting you go. We want to move you to a different role. Would you like to take this different role?" It's like, you have to do this on this day? You have to make this call on this day? Like, yes, I'll take the new role. It fits me so well, and I love what I'm doing. But even if the call would have gone the other way, like it did for so many of the people I work with, this is exactly what I would have done. I would have clung to the fact that God's in the boat with me. And this big storm, and I have no idea how it's going to work out. But how does he want me to go through it? Peace. Be still. I got this. The storm is not bigger than me. That's why I said and titled this point, "There's always a reason for hope." Because the black hole bully lives inside of you. The one who holds the sun in his hands lives inside of you. And I can't promise that the Corona storm is over. I can't promise that. I can't promise you a storm-free life. Matter of fact, I can promise you the opposite of a storm-free life, because that's what Jesus said is going to happen. You are going to have storms. But I can promise you that if you will trust in him, if you will turn to him, not at the bottom of your list, whatever your list looks like, but if you'll turn to him first and continuously go right back to him, then what I can promise is you will see God work. I don't know what that means. But for you, in the storm that you're in, it may mean that, like I said, he ends the storm. Sometimes he just does that. But no matter what, it will mean he will be with you in the storm, and he will be working for your benefit in the storm. And you can go through that storm with peace and stillness because of him. So if you're a follower of Jesus today, my question for you is, how is your faith after these couple of months and this big of a storm? How's your faith? Some of you needed this reminder today because your faith is struggling a little bit. Like, this has been a hard storm for a lot of people, and you really needed this today. God brought you here to say, it's okay. I'm with you. And this storm isn't too big for me. Now, if you're just watching today or here today exploring your faith with us, this is, I am really, really passionate about Jesus. I am really passionate about helping people connect with Jesus and experience Jesus, because then you get all of this. But here's the reality. Jesus doesn't live inside everybody. You have to make the decision to let him in. It's a decision you make. He will never force his way into your life, ever. And if you say, I don't want you, he'll respect that. But he loves you so much that he gave his life 2,000 years ago on a cross to die for you. Because you matter more than anything to him. And he loves you. And if you will let him in, he will begin to fulfill his promises inside of you. Let me have you bow your heads. Jesus, I pray for the people here who are struggling with their faith, first off, for whom this storm has really been hard. I pray that you would draw them closer to you. But I pray for the person here today who's really thinking about what decision they want to make. I pray that you would make it clear. Now, maybe you're watching or listening today and you really know that something is missing from your life. And maybe you've tried all the other things on that list and you are not fulfilled and you are not content and you are missing happiness and joy. And all of those qualities, that peace is found in him. So, he loves you so much he gave his life on a cross for you, to pay for all the unloving things in our lives that we've done. And if you will let him in, he will come in. And he will do his work inside of you. So with your head bowed, if you want to make this decision today, you want him, then here's what you say. You say, Jesus, I'm turning to you today. I am turning to you right now. I need you. I've tried so many other things. It's not working. I need you. Please come and make your home inside of me. I'm putting my trust in you. In Jesus' name, amen.